Stop everything and listen up. You're about to learn something that could completely change the way you approach life. The power of pragmatic observation. Sounds simple, right? But trust me, it's anything but. If you're tired of chasing after abstract theories, getting lost in endless advice that never seems to work, this is the video for you. In the next few minutes, we're diving deep into why paying attention to what's actually happening around you, without the filters, without the excuses, is the key to unlocking real solutions. This isn't about wishful thinking or philosophical fluff. It's about getting practical, rolling up your sleeves, and looking at life in a way that gives you the power to make things happen. So if you're ready to stop letting life pass you by and start seeing things in a way that actually helps you grow, stick around. What I'm about to share could transform your approach to challenges, opportunities, and maybe even your own mindset. Keep watching. Number 1. The radical pause. Questioning the urgency of immediate action. Have you ever felt that rush to act immediately, even when you're not entirely sure what you're doing? Like that pressure to send that email, respond to that text, or make that decision just because the clock is ticking? Here's a bold idea. What if the secret to success isn't acting faster, but pausing longer? Yes, trust me on this one. The radical pause is all about slowing down and letting things settle before jumping in. Now, I know what you're thinking. Isn't that just procrastination? Let's clear that up right now. It's not about avoiding action. It's about taking the right action after careful observation. And believe me, that tiny pause could change everything. You know the type. You're at work, someone asks you to do something, and suddenly the clock is ticking. The pressure mounts, and you feel like if you don't act right now, things will spiral out of control. Or maybe it's a personal situation. How many times have you felt compelled to immediately fix things, to jump in with advice or solutions, just because you didn't want to seem indecisive? We've all been there. We all know that feeling of urgency and how exhausting it is to constantly feel like we have to respond immediately. But here's the catch, that urgency is often based on fear. Fear of missing out, fear of disappointing someone, or fear of being left behind. It's not real, it's just a feeling. So here's the strategy. Embrace the radical pause. This isn't about being passive. It's about allowing yourself the space to truly observe what's going on before diving into action. Think of it as giving yourself a mental and emotional breather, even when everything around you is moving fast. The beauty of this pause is that it grants you clarity. Instead of reacting out of habit or fear, you start responding based on the full picture, because you took the time to observe it all. You'll be amazed at how much you can see when you step back. And no, it's not passive-aggressive, it's just practical. It's a way of respecting your time, your energy, and your mental space. Let me tell you a quick story from my own life. Not long ago, I was in a meeting at work, and the conversation was escalating. Everyone was rushing to make decisions, throwing ideas around like confetti. I could feel the pressure rising to jump in with a suggestion, but I decided to take a moment to just listen. I paused. In that brief moment of silence, the most interesting thing happened. The atmosphere shifted. People started to reflect on their ideas more deeply, and what followed was a breakthrough solution no one expected. That pause allowed everyone to regroup, and ultimately, we came up with a much more effective approach. Had I joined the rush, we probably would have settled for a solution that felt quick, but wasn't the best one. The beauty of the radical pause is that it's about reclaiming your space. It's about saying, I don't need to jump in just because everyone else is. It gives you emotional and mental clarity. Instead of reacting out of obligation or guilt, you start acting from a place of strength and awareness. You stop second-guessing yourself, and you stop over-explaining your choices. You don't need to justify the pause. Just know that when you choose it, You're choosing yourself. You're giving yourself the time to observe, to listen, to truly understand, and then take action when it truly matters. So here's the takeaway. Next time you feel that rush to do something, try hitting pause. Give yourself permission to slow down and let the world unfold a little longer. Your peace, your clarity, and your confidence will thank you for it. And remember, you're not just reacting, you're observing, you're learning, and you're stepping into your power. That pause is your strength. It's a game changer. Number 2, ignore conventional wisdom. Trust your instincts over popular opinion. Here's a bold thought. What if everything you've been told about success, about the right way to live, is completely overrated? What if trusting your instincts, rather than following the conventional advice, was the real secret to winning? Now, I know what you're thinking, but isn't conventional wisdom supposed to be, well, wise? Yes, trust me on this, I get it. We're all conditioned to believe that following the herd will keep us safe, comfortable, and successful. But here's the kicker. Sometimes the herd is heading straight toward a cliff. And if you're constantly looking to others for validation or approval, you might be missing out on the amazing, untapped potential that lies within you. Let me paint a picture you can probably relate to. You know the type. Everyone around you has the perfect life figured out. They've got their 9-to-5 jobs, the neatly organized schedules, and they always know what the next step is. Meanwhile, you're over here wondering if you should follow that exact same path, even though something inside you feels off. We've all been there. We've all felt that pressure to fit in, to do what everyone else is doing because, well, that's what works, right? But does it? Deep down, you know there's something more to you than just following the script. Here's the twist. What if the best thing you could do for yourself right now is ignore all that conventional advice and start trusting your gut? Think about it. Conventional wisdom often relies on what's worked for someone else at some other point in time. But your situation is unique. You are unique. Your instincts are powerful, and they've been guiding you all along, even when you didn't listen to them. When you trust yourself over popular opinion, you free yourself from the trap of comparison and external validation. You start making decisions based on your own values, your own rhythm, and your own truth. It might feel uncomfortable at first, even scary, but that's where real growth happens. Let me share a real-life example. A while ago, I found myself at a crossroads with my career. Everyone was telling me to take the safe route, the tried and true career path everyone else seemed to follow. But something inside me was pulling me in a completely different direction. I wanted to take a risk and pursue a passion that didn't have the same clear roadmap, but it felt right. I could hear the voices of well-meaning friends and family telling me to play it safe, but I decided to trust my instincts instead. It was scary as hell at first, no doubt about it, but that decision ultimately led me to opportunities I couldn't have imagined if I'd just gone along with the crowd. Looking back, I can confidently say it was the best choice I ever made. Here's why this matters for you. When you choose to trust yourself, you reclaim your power. It's about owning your decisions, your mistakes, and your victories. You stop second-guessing yourself. You stop worrying about what everyone else thinks, and you start living on your own terms. Trusting your instincts isn't just an act of bravery, it's an act of self-respect. This is your life. It's not a blueprint anyone else can design for you. So the next time you find yourself standing at a crossroads and all the experts are telling you to go one way, pause for a moment. Tune out the noise. Ask yourself, what does my instinct say? That quiet voice inside you knows the way. Follow it. And when you do, you'll discover a life that's uniquely yours, one that feels true, authentic, and empowering. Trust yourself. Your instincts are never wrong. Number 3, conscious inaction. the art of doing nothing to see everything. Imagine this. You're facing a problem, and everyone around you is scrambling to find a solution. There's an overwhelming pressure to act immediately, to do something, anything, to fix things. But what if the most powerful move you could make right now is to do nothing? Yes, trust me on this. The idea of conscious inaction sounds almost counterintuitive, right? In a world that glorifies constant hustle, slowing down feels like the opposite of progress. But hear me out. Sometimes, the key to solving a problem lies in giving yourself permission to step back and observe before you act. We've all been there, haven't we? That moment when something goes wrong at work, at home, or in a friendship, and everyone is rushing to fix it. The urge to jump in and do something can be suffocating. You can almost feel the pressure mounting, like if you don't react right away, things will spiral out of control. But what if that instinct to do something is actually making things worse? You know the type, someone who always has to jump in with advice, a solution, or a quick fix, because that's what we're told we should do. But let's be honest, how often do those rushed decisions actually solve the real issue? Often, they just make us feel like we've done something, but they don't address the underlying problem. Here's where conscious inaction comes in. Instead of reacting right away, do nothing. And I mean really nothing. This isn't about being lazy or avoiding responsibility. It's about creating the mental space to observe and understand the situation more deeply. When you pause before acting, you allow the situation to unfold naturally. You see things you wouldn't have noticed if you were caught up in the rush of reacting. Inaction, in this case, isn't passive. It's a deliberate strategy to gain clarity. By slowing down, you give yourself the time and space to assess the full scope of the situation and make a more informed, intentional decision. Let me give you an example from my own life. A while back, a major project at work was falling apart. Everyone around me was scrambling, throwing out ideas left and right, trying to come up with the quick fix. At first, I felt the pressure to jump in and start offering suggestions. But then, I remembered the power of doing nothing. I took a step back, closed my laptop, and gave myself a few moments to just breathe and observe. I listened. I watched how the team interacted, what wasn't being said, and what the real issues were beneath the surface. In that quiet space, the solution became clear. I didn't have to force anything. I just had to allow the situation to reveal itself. And when I did act, it was with confidence and purpose, not out of a frantic desire to do something. This is about reclaiming your space, your peace, and your mental energy. The constant rush to act can be exhausting, and we often end up reacting based on emotion, fear, or external pressure rather than wisdom. Conscious inaction allows you to hit pause and let the world unfold on its own terms, giving you the clarity and insight needed to make the best decision. It's not about avoiding the situation, it's about taking control of your response. When you embrace conscious inaction, you stop over-explaining, you stop second-guessing, and you start trusting yourself more deeply. So next time you find yourself overwhelmed by the need to act immediately, try this. Do nothing. Step back, breathe, and observe. You'll find that sometimes inaction is the most powerful action you can take. By slowing down, you create the space to see things clearly, and when you do act, it will be with purpose, not panic. Your peace, your clarity, and your sense of control will be the reward. And in a world that never stops moving, there's something incredibly powerful about being the one who chooses to pause. Number 4. Disrupting patterns. Embrace discomfort to uncover hidden truths. Here's a thought that might rattle your comfort zone. What if the key to uncovering the most important truths in your life is not to seek comfort, but to embrace discomfort? Now, I know, it sounds like the last thing you want to do. After all, we're all conditioned to avoid discomfort, right? We want peace, security, and smooth sailing. But what if discomfort isn't something to fear, but something to lean into? Yes, trust me on this. When you step out of your comfort zone, you're not just facing discomfort. You're uncovering hidden truths about yourself, your relationships, and the world around you. We've all been there, haven't we? Stuck in a routine that feels safe and predictable, but somehow it's starting to feel a little off. It's like you're going through the motions, but not really living. The type of situation where everything looks fine on the outside, but deep down, you know there's more to explore. We've all experienced that nagging feeling that we're not fully tapped into our potential, that something's missing. But we're too scared to dig deeper. It's easy to settle into what's familiar and avoid rocking the boat. But here's the truth. Those uncomfortable moments are the ones that lead to growth and self-discovery. This is where disrupting your patterns comes into play. You don't need to go on a wild, impulsive adventure to feel discomfort. Sometimes all it takes is disrupting your daily routine, breaking away from the predictable patterns that have you stuck in a loop. When you embrace discomfort intentionally, whether it's taking on a challenge that scares you, speaking up when you usually stay quiet, or making a decision that feels uncertain, you create space for new perspectives and deeper truths. The discomfort isn't something to shy away from. It's the very thing that uncovers hidden insights that you might have missed if you stayed in the comfort of the familiar. Let me share a personal example. There was a time at work when I found myself feeling disconnected from the team. Everything seemed fine, but something wasn't clicking. I was stuck in my usual routine, doing my job, attending meetings, but not really engaging. Instead of continuing to coast through, I decided to disrupt my usual approach. I started asking more questions, offering ideas that were outside the box, and sharing some of my vulnerabilities in meetings. It was uncomfortable. I worried I'd be seen as too bold or even unqualified. But by embracing that discomfort, I found that not only did I uncover new ideas and solutions, but I also built stronger connections with my colleagues. I learned things about the team and myself that I never would have discovered if I had stayed in my safe little bubble. This is about reclaiming your space, your courage, and your ability to grow. Disrupting your patterns isn't just about doing things differently for the sake of it. It's about pushing yourself to uncover truths that have been hidden beneath the surface. It's about realizing that you have the power to change your perspective and approach. The more you lean into discomfort, the more you'll see things differently. Your life, your work, your relationships, all of it will take on a new depth. And here's the best part. With each moment of discomfort you embrace, you become stronger, more resilient, and more in tune with who you really are. So next time you feel that hesitation to step outside your usual patterns, ask yourself, what hidden truths could be waiting for you if you just lean into the discomfort? The truth is, growth never happens in the comfort zone. By disrupting your own patterns, you unlock the doors to a life that's richer, more authentic, and far more fulfilling. Embrace the discomfort. Trust me, on the other side of it, there's a world of truth waiting for you. Number 5. The blatant observation. Speak out loud about what you see. Here's something you might not expect to hear. The key to unlocking your full potential and feeling more empowered isn't about thinking harder or trying to be perfect. It's about speaking out loud about what you see. Sounds simple, right? Yet, most of us hold back from sharing our observations, whether it's in the workplace, in relationships, or even with ourselves. You might be wondering, isn't that a bit too bold or, dare I say, confrontational? Trust me, it's not. Speaking out loud about what you see can be one of the most liberating and powerful things you do. We've all been there, hesitating to say something because we're worried about how others will react. You know the type, sitting in a meeting, watching something unfold, and thinking to yourself, "This is off," or "I see a solution here." But you keep it to yourself because you don't want to rock the boat. Or maybe in a conversation, you feel something isn't adding up, but you stay quiet because you don't want to come across as critical or challenging. We've all been there. And honestly, it feels frustrating, doesn't it? Holding back when you know there's something worth saying. But here's the truth. The act of speaking out loud, of voicing your observations, whether they're about a situation, a person, or even your own feelings, is a game changer. It's about seeing things for what they are and having the courage to say it, even when it's uncomfortable. The brilliance of this strategy is that by sharing what you observe, you shift the dynamic. It opens up conversations, clears the air, and challenges the status quo in a way that forces growth. It's a way of taking control without being overly forceful. It's not about being right, it's about being honest and present in the moment. I'll tell you a little story from my own life. A while ago, I was in a team meeting where the discussion seemed to be dragging on, and no one was really addressing the root of the issue. We were all dancing around the problem, and the solutions being proposed weren't landing. I had a thought that I knew was probably going to be a bit awkward to say out loud, but I couldn't shake it. I simply said, "I think we're all missing the main point here, which is..." And I proceeded to speak my mind. Sure, it was uncomfortable at first, but what followed was a shift in the conversation that led us to real solutions. People were grateful for the clarity, and the room opened up for honest dialogue. That moment taught me how powerful it is to speak out loud about what you see, even if it makes you nervous. This is about reclaiming your voice, your perspective, and your right to contribute. Speaking out loud about what you see isn't about causing conflict. It's about creating space for truth and authenticity to thrive. The more you speak up, the more you realize how much power there is in honesty, even when it feels uncomfortable. It's not about winning a debate. It's about owning your observations and letting them guide the conversation forward. Every time you say what you see, you affirm your worth and your insights. So, the next time you find yourself hesitating to speak up, ask yourself, what's at stake if I don't say anything? Trust your gut, speak up, and embrace the discomfort that comes with it. Because when you speak out loud about what you see, you not only change the conversation, you change yourself. You step into a place of power and clarity that comes from embracing your voice, no matter how small or big the observation may seem. Your perspective matters. Speak it out loud. Number 6. Breaking the fourth wall. Observing the observer. Imagine this. You're in the middle of a conversation or an intense moment, and suddenly you feel like you're watching yourself from the outside. You're not just experiencing the situation, but also observing it from a distance. Now you might think, that sounds weird. What do you mean observing the observer? Well, trust me on this one. It's more powerful than you think, and I'm about to show you why. We've all been there, caught up in the hustle of daily life, reacting to situations without really thinking about how we're reacting. You know the type. Someone says something and you immediately get defensive, or maybe you're stuck in a cycle of overthinking a situation, spiraling, not sure if you're doing the right thing. It's easy to get lost in the moment and not even realize that we have the ability to step back and look at the way we're reacting. But here's the twist. What if you could not only experience life, but also observe your reactions as they happen? What if you could break the fourth wall of your own life? Here's the strategy. Observe the observer. What I mean is, take a moment in the midst of a situation to step outside yourself and notice how you're feeling, what you're thinking, and how you're reacting. It's like hitting the pause button on your life and zooming out, allowing you to see the bigger picture. It's incredibly freeing because it gives you control over how you respond, rather than just being swept away by your emotions. It's not about detaching completely or becoming cold. It's about creating a space for clarity and mindfulness in real time. Let me give you a real example. A few months ago, I found myself in a heated conversation with a friend. I was frustrated, they were frustrated, and the tension was building up. Instead of letting the situation escalate, I paused for a second and observed myself. How am I feeling right now? What am I reacting to? That small moment of observation helped me realize that I wasn't actually upset with them. I was reacting to my own stress from work. That awareness shifted the conversation completely. Instead of snapping back, I was able to express my feelings calmly and resolve the issue. It wasn't about winning the argument. It was about understanding my own response and choosing how I wanted to move forward. This is about reclaiming your power. By observing the observer, you create emotional distance between yourself and the situation, which allows you to respond with intention instead of impulse. It's empowering because you're no longer a passive participant in your life. You're the one driving the narrative. You're taking control, not just of what happens to you, but of how you handle it. The next time you feel your emotions rising, take a step back and ask yourself, what's going on here? What am I really reacting to? It can be a game changer. So, next time you're in a moment of stress or conflict, remember, you don't have to be just the character in the scene. You can be the one who steps back, observes, and rewrites the script. It's about recognizing that you have the power to change your reactions, and by doing so, change the outcome. Step out of the chaos, break the fourth wall, and see yourself for who you really are. A person with the power to control your narrative. You've got this. Number 7, deconstructing routine. Make purposeful mistakes to see what works. What if I told you that making mistakes on purpose could be the secret to finding what actually works? Sounds a little counterintuitive, right? I get it. No one really wants to make mistakes, especially on purpose. But trust me, this is one of those ideas that can turn your whole approach to life upside down, in the best way. Now, I know what you're thinking. Why would I intentionally mess up something when I'm already trying to get things right? Stick with me for a minute. I promise there's a method to this madness. We've all been there, stuck in a routine. You wake up, go through the motions, and maybe you even feel like you're getting things done. But let's be honest, sometimes it all just feels a little automatic. You know the type. Every day feels like a repeat of the last. You get up, do the same tasks, and while things may seem to be moving forward, it doesn't feel like you're growing or discovering anything new. It's like you're running on a treadmill, working hard, but not really getting anywhere. So, what if I told you that shaking up that routine, even with a few purposeful mistakes, could actually help you break free from the monotony? Here's the strategy. Make purposeful mistakes. It sounds crazy, right? But hear me out. The idea is that by stepping out of your usual patterns and embracing a few errors, you create the space for unexpected breakthroughs. Mistakes, when intentionally made, show us what's not working, yes, but more importantly, they help us discover new ways of doing things that we might never have considered. It's like creating a little chaos in your own system, and trust me, chaos can be incredibly productive. Psychologically speaking, making mistakes challenges your assumptions, disrupts your normal way of thinking, and opens the door to creativity. It's in those messy moments that you uncover what truly works. Let me share a quick story from my own life. A while back, I was working on a big project for my YouTube channel, and honestly, I was stuck. I'd done things the same way for weeks, trying to stick to my routine, editing in the same style, following the same structure, and nothing felt fresh. So I decided to break the pattern. I switched things up and tried editing a video completely differently, going outside my usual comfort zone, making a few deliberate mistakes just to see how it would feel. At first, it was a mess. The transitions were too fast, the audio was off, and the pacing felt all wrong. But you know what? That chaos forced me to pay attention. In the middle of the mess, I stumbled upon a new editing style that was more engaging and dynamic. The mistakes I made gave me the freedom to experiment and ultimately led to a breakthrough I would have never found by sticking to my old routine. This approach is all about giving yourself permission to step outside of what feels comfortable. We often feel the need to be perfect or to do things the right way. But here's the thing, the right way is often just a label we've placed on a path that feels safe. When you let yourself make mistakes on purpose, you're actually giving yourself the chance to learn faster and to discover new solutions. This isn't about being reckless, it's about embracing the possibility that what you think is the right way might not be the best way for you anymore. So, here's the takeaway. Purposefully break free from your routine, embrace a little chaos, and make mistakes. Those mistakes aren't failures, they're opportunities for growth. By deconstructing your usual patterns, you'll see things from a new perspective, find out what actually works for you, and uncover hidden potential you didn't know was there. It's time to stop playing it safe and start experimenting. Your growth, your creativity, and your success are waiting on the other side of a few purposeful mistakes. So go ahead, break the routine, see what happens. Number 8. The power of reflection. Take time to do absolutely nothing. What if I told you that the secret to success might just lie in doing absolutely nothing? I know. Your brain is probably screaming, but I've got a to-do list that's miles long. Trust me, I've been there. We're so caught up in doing, checking off boxes and chasing goals, that we forget one important thing. Sometimes the best way to move forward is to pause and do nothing at all. Yes, you heard me right. Take a break, sit back, and just be. We've all been there. You wake up, hit the ground running, and before you know it, your day is a whirlwind of tasks, meetings, and responsibilities. And if you're anything like me, there's always that nagging feeling that you need to be doing more. More work, more hustle, more activity. It's like a constant game of catch-up, right? But what if I told you that constantly doing something might actually be keeping you from being your best? That's where the power of reflection comes in. Giving yourself the space to do absolutely nothing can actually recharge you, help you clear your mind, and bring you closer to your true purpose. Sounds counterproductive? Stick with me for a second. So here's the idea. Stop. Just stop for a moment. Don't grab your phone, don't check your emails, and certainly don't start planning your next task. The power of reflection isn't about filling every second with action. It's about creating the space to do absolutely nothing, allowing your mind to wander freely. This isn't wasted time. In fact, it's the opposite. When you step away from the hustle and bustle, your brain gets the chance to process, to connect ideas, and to reset. Psychologically speaking, downtime is essential for creativity and mental clarity. When you're constantly on the move, you're just reacting. But when you take a step back, you can respond with intention. It's like giving your mind a much-needed rest so it can do its best work. Let me give you a real-life example. Last year, I was working on a major project. I was pushing myself hard, staying up late, and keeping busy with a never-ending list of tasks. But instead of feeling productive, I started to feel drained and overwhelmed. I was making mistakes, missing deadlines, and honestly, I wasn't enjoying the work anymore. That's when I decided to take a day off. I didn't answer emails, didn't check my phone, just sat quietly and allowed myself to relax without any agenda. It wasn't about being lazy, it was about reflecting. By the end of that day, I came back to my project with fresh eyes and new ideas. I had clarity. The mental fog lifted, and I was able to work smarter, not harder. That doing nothing was exactly what I needed to realign myself with my goals. Now, I know it can feel weird. In a world that glorifies constant productivity, taking time to reflect might seem like a luxury you can't afford. But here's the truth. It's not a luxury. It's a necessity. This is about reclaiming your peace, your creativity, and your emotional well-being. By allowing yourself the space to do nothing, you're giving your mind the rest it deserves. And from that place of calm, you'll be able to approach life with more purpose, more focus, and more joy. The world won't fall apart because you took a moment for yourself. In fact, you might find that everything falls into place a little better once you've given yourself that space. So, here's the takeaway. Take time to do absolutely nothing. Allow yourself to reflect, to be still, and to embrace the power of pause. It's not wasted time. It's an investment in your clarity, creativity, and mental well-being. When you make room for reflection, you make room for growth. Reclaim your peace, your space, and your sanity. You deserve it. Number 9. Eyes wide open, seeing through the lies we tell ourselves. Here's a truth bomb for you. We're all lying to ourselves, constantly. Yes, even you. I know it sounds harsh, but hear me out. We all have those little stories we tell ourselves to make life easier, to avoid discomfort, or to dodge the tough questions we don't want to answer. I'm too busy. I'll start tomorrow. It's not my fault. We've all used these excuses, right? Now, before you get defensive, let's dig into why we do this, and why it's time to open our eyes to the lies we've been living with. Think about it. How many times have you told yourself, "I don't have time for that," when deep down, you know it's more about priorities than a lack of hours in the day? Or how many times have you said, "I'm not good enough," or "I can't do that," when you've never even tried? You know the type, the kind of thinking that's rooted in fear, self-doubt, and comfort. It's easy to fall into that mindset because it shields us from the hard stuff, from confronting our limitations and the reality that change is hard. But here's the thing. These lies are not only holding you back, they're keeping you stuck. What if I told you that the first step to becoming the person you've always wanted to be is to start by seeing through the lies you tell yourself? It's not as scary as it sounds, I promise. In fact, it's incredibly liberating. The trick is to acknowledge those little self-sabotaging thoughts. Take a step back and ask yourself, is this really true? You'd be surprised how often the answer is no. Why? Because most of the time, those lies are just a shield we put up to avoid discomfort or fear of failure. When we question them, they lose their power. Here's a real-life example from my own life. A few years ago, I found myself stuck in a rut. I kept telling myself that I was too busy to start the things I was passionate about: writing, making videos, taking on new projects. Every time an opportunity came along, I'd tell myself, I'll start when I have more time. But the truth, I was scared. I didn't believe I had the skills, or the time, or the confidence to start. And for months, I kept that lie going. But one day, I finally asked myself, what's really holding me back? The answer was clear: fear of failure. And once I realized that, everything shifted. I started taking small steps, and the more I did, the more I saw that the only thing standing in my way was me. When you start to see through the lies you tell yourself, you begin to reclaim your power. You stop being a prisoner of your own fears and doubts. Instead of holding yourself back with excuses, you start making moves, taking action, and finding your real potential. This is about more than just productivity. It's about personal freedom. This is about breaking free from those self-imposed limitations and stepping into the life you know you deserve. So, the next time you catch yourself telling a lie, stop, Breathe. Ask, is this really true? And then take one small step in the opposite direction of that lie. You'll be amazed at how quickly things start to change. Remember, it's your space, your growth, and your journey. Don't let the lies you tell yourself hold you back from living the life you're meant to lead. You've got this. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope this video gave you some new perspectives on the power of pragmatic observation and how it can reshape the way you approach challenges and opportunities. If you found this content valuable, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. It really helps. And if you're hungry for more insights like this, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss out. Also, if you know someone who could benefit from this, share the video with them. Let's spread this practical wisdom. I'd love to hear your thoughts or personal experiences with pragmatic observation. Drop a comment below and let's start a conversation. What's something you've noticed lately that shifted your thinking? Remember, seeing things for what they truly are, without the noise or distractions, is a power you hold. Keep your eyes open and embrace the clarity that comes with it. Until next time, stay curious, stay practical, and keep observing.